All right, guys, it is finally time. No more excuses, no more stalling. I've had about over 24 hours to think about this. I've done my analysis, done my thinking, and I'm going with my gut, a little bit of logic, a little bit lack of logic, a little bit of everything. I finally think I know who I'm going to go with every game here in our March Madness bracket. It's March Madness, beautiful time of year. This empty bracket is one of the most beautiful things in sports. Lots of things can unfold, anything can happen. We're going to try to do the impossible and predict every single game. So make sure to comment your opinions as always, guys. But without further ado, 2023 March Madness, maybe my favorite time of year for sports. Let's get into every single game, my logic, my opinion on who's going to win, and ultimately who cuts down the nets in Houston, Texas, and wins the NCAA tournament in the year of 2023. We're going to start with the South region. Now, I don't want to make a video that takes so long, so I can't get into every granule of detail with every game, so I'm just going to go over a few things that might matter with each game. So we're going to start with Alabama and the winner of Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and SEMO, which is Southeast Missouri State. Lots of syllables. None of them matter because Alabama's going to win this game. I don't know who's going to win that first four game. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be tonight. I'm going to go with Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, wow. I'm going to go with Corpus Christi to win that game. Really a toss-up, but I don't think either of them stands a chance against the juggernaut that is Alabama. Then we have Maryland and West Virginia. These 8-9 games are almost always a toss-up. It can really go either way. 9 seeds actually win a little bit more than 8 seeds. Actually, I don't even need to look at the stats. I think I've looked at all the stats. This is actually the first game of the round of 64. This will be Thursday morning. Now, Maryland probably had the better overall year in the Big Ten, but I just got a feeling. I trust Bob Huggins. I love Huggy. He's, I think, third all-time in Division I coaching wins. And when it comes to the tournament, now, neither of these teams... Okay, Maryland's a better offensive team. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Neither of these teams are great defensive teams. They're both pretty good offensive teams. But when it comes to March Madness, I like a coach like Huggy who really puts on the pressure, the physicality. West Virginia is always gritty and tough. And when it comes to a toss-up game, I like West Virginia because they have a lot of X-factor players and they play... I mean, I just love their hustle. Press Virginia, baby. I got to go with them. I love Bob Huggins. Charleston and San Diego, the classic 5-12 matchup that a lot of people like to pick for an upset. I mean, in terms of the 5-12 matchups, these are the matchups that people often go with, the upsets. Now, a lot of people like Charleston. Also, a lot of people like San Diego. I've listened to a lot of videos, a lot of experts, and a lot of analysis. A lot of people are actually, I feel like more than half of people are going with San Diego State. But here's the thing about the Mountain West. San Diego State was clearly the best team in the Mountain West. Great defensive team. I mean, super physical, one of the best defensive teams in the country. But Mountain West teams, their play style in recent years hasn't really translated to the NCAA tournament. I think the Mountain West went 0 for 3 last year in the first round. The Mountain West has not done well recently in the tournament. I think the last Mountain West team to even get to the Sweet 16 was Nevada in 2018. I don't love the Mountain West. Charleston, meanwhile, 31-3, 5 starters, completely balanced team, really good offense, and San Diego State's offense struggles a lot in March Madness. They go on droughts, and I don't like that. I think Charleston wins a physical, gritty game, and I think they get it done. I think they pull off the upset. They've had an amazing year. They've been the best team in their conference all year long. And I like the balance of their team more. They have 5 guys average double-digit points. San Diego State only has 2 of those guys. So I trust Charleston's offense a lot more than I do San Diego State's. And the 12-5 is an upset I always like to go with. I'm always a fan of. So I'm going to go with Charleston. Virginia and Furman, 4 versus 13. Virginia got a 4 seed, but honestly, this is not a great 4 seed in my opinion. The ACC was not as good as it normally is. Furman, they had a really good year in the Southern Conference, won their conference tournament. Furman's not exactly an unstoppable offense, but their offense is significantly better than Virginia's. Virginia does what they always do. They win by defense, but this is Their offense does concern me. The ACC wasn't that good. I think Virginia's a little bit overrated. I'm going to go with Furman to pull off the upset, kind of like Ohio upset Virginia 2 years ago in this same seed matchup, 13 versus 4. I like these 12-5 and 13-4s. I really do. I think Virginia, let's just be honest. Virginia has a bad offense. Also, Ben Vanderplas is hurt for them, and he's one of their best offensive players. That's a big loss for them. We move down to Creighton and NC State. A lot of people didn't like that NC State even made the field, let alone maybe got to the first 4, but here they are without having to play in any play-in game. They have an 11 seed. Most 6-11 games really are toss-ups, but this is one where I don't really think it's a toss-up. The general consensus is that Creighton is a significantly better team, and I tend to agree. NC State's been really inconsistent. The ACC hasn't been as good this year, so they're not as battle-tested. Creighton has a really balanced team. This is a really good offense. You know, three-point shooting, they're really good at it. Free throw shooting, and they have a great center. And so this is a good defensive and offensive team from the inside out. So Creighton is a very dangerous team. I'm definitely going to go with them to beat NC State. Then we have Baylor and UC Santa Barbara, UCSB. Baylor won the championship 2 years ago. Here they are as a 3 seed. Kind of an interesting 3 seed because they've had some bad losses. They lost in the first round of the Big 12 tournament to Iowa State, who inexplicably beat them all 3 times this year, 3 out of 3. And UCSB, this conference is always fun to try to go with an upset. They almost pulled off an upset of Creighton a couple years ago. It's bold. I'm a bold guy when it comes to March Madness. I think UCSB pulls off the upset here. I don't Baylor has a very good offense, but this defense isn't as good as most Baylor teams are, and I think UCSB has a very balanced offensive attack that can exploit their lack of defense, and if Baylor's shots aren't falling, that is upset alert, and I'm going to go with it because I think you got to be bold when it comes to March Madness. Then we have Missouri and Utah State. Now, a lot of people like Utah State, so much to the fact that Utah State is actually favored here. I'm going to go with Utah State to win because Missouri has a very good offense. They can't really defend. Utah State can actually defend pretty well in the Mountain West. You know, you can't really be a bad defensive team in the Mountain West. Utah State, I like their guard play a lot. They shoot so well from 3. This is such a dangerous team. They've been playing well. If their shots are falling, Utah State is extremely dangerous. I mean, you do not want to deal with Utah State if they are hitting their shots, which they have big time as of late. Then we have Arizona, U of A, versus Princeton. Now, the Ivy League schools are always interesting because they have potential. Princeton once upset UCLA 27 years ago, I believe it was, when UCLA was the defending champ. I think that was a 13-4, and then Yale beat Baylor not too long ago. So these Ivy League schools are always sneaky, interesting. They always put up a good fight. But, you know, it's Arizona. You know, you got the Twin Towers. You got Ballo and Tubelis. You got really good three-point shooting. All right, Princeton wins. I'm going with it. Here's the thing. Throw logic out the window with this one. I just hate U of A. That's just that. I go to Arizona State. Arizona sucks, okay? So I'm throwing out the logic. I know they're a great team, but you know what? Sometimes, okay, I'm tired of Arizona disappointing us in March Madness, okay? I always pick them to go far. They always fall short of expectations. Every year, everyone's like, oh, well, Arizona's going to be a Final Four team this year, and they can win that. Nope. I'm tired of picking them, and for once, I want to pick against them. So I'm going with Princeton. They're high IQ. Well, I assume they're smart people, and the smart players because the school's smart. So Princeton wins. We move down to the East region. Yeah, we're gonna go region by region, round by round. So we're gonna start with Purdue and Texas Southern versus Fairleigh Dickinson. I think Purdue wins regardless, but I do think, let's say Texas Southern wins that game. Why not? Purdue is just gonna be too tough for either of them. Zach Edey might have 45 and 20 in that game. Then we have Memphis and FAU. FAU, very high seed for Conference USA. They've had an incredible season. This is a very dangerous team, but they got kind of a tough draw with Memphis. I'm very high on Memphis. Kendrick Davis and DeAndre Williams are an incredible duo. They beat Houston in the American Conference Championship. They have a lot of momentum right now. They are a dangerous offense, well coached by Penny Hardaway. Veteran team. I think DeAndre Williams is like 26 years old. what? I don't know. He called up Stetson Bennett and said, bro, I'm going to top you with age. And then Kendrick Davis is 23. So this is a veteran team. They're ready to win now. I really like Memphis. I think they're a dangerous team. Now, I'm just realizing we're 10 minutes in and we're like just 1/4 in. So I kind of got to speed it up, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I could give more analysis, but let's just kind of try to go with a little bit brisker of a pace. Duke, Oral Roberts. Now, I feel so bad for Oral Roberts because I've been on the Oral Roberts train all year. This team went 20-0. Yes, that's right, 20-0 in conference play. They finished 30-4. Unbelievable offense. Max Asmus still there from that Sweet 16 15 seed 2 years ago that Oral Roberts was. I picked them to get to the Sweet 16 2 years ago. But Duke is playing so well. They should not be a 5 seed. They should be a 4 or 3 after winning the ACC tournament. Filipowski is going to be a tough matchup, but I'm sticking with Oral Roberts. I know a lot of people are going with Duke. Oral Roberts got the worst draw possible, but this offense is so good. They have 7'5" Connor Vanover, who's going to give Filipowski some trouble. He's a guy who I think can actually defend the center of Duke, who has played so well as of late. And you got to stick with your guns sometimes. I'm going with Oral Roberts. I've always liked them. I've liked them all year. I liked them 2 years ago. They have never let me down. I'm sticking with them. Tennessee and Louisiana. Now, this one I went back and forth on because I love the 13/4s, but I can't have every 13/4. Tennessee's injury to Zakai Ziegler does concern me, but the metrics love Tennessee, the advanced stats, the analytics love Tennessee. Louisiana is a very good overall team. They're riding hot right now, but Tennessee's defense, despite their injuries, this is one of the best defenses in the country. I'm just going to bank on their defense showing up and their offense not killing them, which it normally doesn't, but sometimes they go on droughts, especially without their point guard with him being hurt. But I think Tennessee beats Louisiana just sheerly on their defensive will, and I also can't have every 13 because you're about to see, well, Furman wasn't the only 13 spoilers that I have beating a 4. So we're going to move on to Kentucky and Providence. Kentucky, Coach Cal, they got upset by St. Peter's last year. They're not going to get upset in the first round 2 years in a row. I'm going to go with Kentucky. Also, Providence is spiraling out of control, and they're just going way downhill. This team was a top 20 team just 2 weeks ago. They've absolutely collapsed. The momentum's just not there. Their defense is horrendous. I don't see them stopping Shibwe. I think Kentucky will win this game in the 6 versus 11 in this region. Then we have Kansas State and Montana. This is, I got to be honest, the 14 seeds aren't great this year. I don't think they are. I'm not a huge fan of many of the 14s. I'm going to go with Kansas State to win this game. Montana State, not a spectacular, they don't blow me away. They don't, to me, I don't see the formula for an upset team. If I want to pick an upset, I like a high octane offense, good pace, can shoot the ball a lot, maybe really good guard play. Montana State, I don't see it. It's a struggle for them. They're not good enough offensively, in my opinion, to beat Kansas State, who's very good defensively, but also they're kind of underrated offensively. I really like Keontae Johnson there, so I think Kansas State wins this game. Then we have Michigan State and USC, one of the best games of the first round. I got to trust Tom Izzo. I'm going with Michigan State. This team could be very dangerous because most Michigan State teams, they're defensive, but this year they're very offensive. They can shoot threes. They have a great pace to them. Tyson Walker, he's a star. And Tom Izzo, 25 straight March Madness appearances. I trust Tom. In Tom we trust. So I'm going with Michigan State. Then we have Marquette and Vermont. I will go with Marquette. They've had a phenomenal year. Best year in school history. Shaka Smart has done a great job with this Marquette team, who has one of the best offenses in the country. They won the Big East tournament. Their defense, it's not great, but recently it's picked up steam, and they're very aggressive. They put pressure on you. They press well. They get steals. So even though they, in terms of points allowed and defensive efficiency, it might not be there, but it's not a pushover defense either. It's a defense that's ready to play. Shaka Smart gets them ready to play almost every game, especially as of late. We move up to the Midwest region. Houston versus North Kentucky. The Norse, can they pull off the upset? No, they're not going to pull off the upset. Houston wins. Houston, people are thinking about the Marcus Sasser injury and the concern. I think he'll be fine. Even if he doesn't play this game, I still think Houston wins. And yeah, I think he'll definitely be back by the second round. He's questionable for the first round. I don't think it's a serious injury. I'll go with Houston. I'm not convinced really most times to ever go with a 16 seed. So then we have Iowa and Auburn. Now, what makes this game interesting, it's probably the most confusing. It's the game I've probably gone back and forth on the most. When the bracket came out, I'm thinking, Iowa, it's a dynamic offense. Then I'm like, no, they can't defend, so I go with Auburn. And then I'm like, well, no, Auburn can't offend. They can't score. So I'm going to go with Iowa. I don't know. I'm going to trust Bruce Pearl over Fran McCaffery because Fran McCaffery's, if his team, if Iowa's offense, if their shots don't fall, it's a wrap. It's over. And also, this game is in Alabama, so I think the fan base will be more favorable toward Auburn. I trust a defense more. I trust a great defense more than a great offense because a great offense sometimes, I think a great offense is more likely to not show up than a great defense. So I'm banking on Iowa's shots not falling. I'm going to go with Auburn, but that could really go either way, obviously, as basically all 8-9 matchups do. Miami and Drake now, the Norchad Omier injury for Miami, their leading rebounder, that's very concerning. A lot of people like Drake in this matchup. Drake's a really good shooting team. The Missouri Valley teams are always dangerous. Of course, we remember Loyola Chicago. But I trust Isaiah Wong, Jim Larinaga, and I can't go with every 12, so I'm going to go with Miami to actually win this game, which might be counterintuitive because I feel like most people whose brackets I've seen, they like to go with Drake, but I just don't see it. I trust the U to at least advance once because Isaiah Wong is that guy, and so I'm going to go with them. And then we have Indiana versus Kent State. This is another one where people really like Kent State, the 13, to beat number 4 Indiana. I just don't see it. I don't understand why people aren't high on Indiana. They have a really balanced team, great interior offense, great offense overall, good defense, physical. Trace Jackson Davis is one of the best players in the country. Kent State, they're a balanced team as well, but they don't blow me away with three-point shooting or pace or something. I just don't see it. And I also can't go with every 13, so I'm going to go with Indiana to win this one and move on. We can't have parity in every single bracket. So this one will be chalk with the 4s and 5s in this region. Then we have Iowa State versus the winner of Mississippi State and Pitt. I'm going to go with Pitt to win that game in the first 4 because Mississippi State's offense is very atrocious. I think they're the worst three-point shooting team in the entire nation. So I will go with Pitt to win that game. They could beat Iowa State statistically. At least one first 4 team has won 11 out of 12 years in the round of 64. But I will go with Iowa State. If we get an Iowa State-Mississippi State game, I would not watch that because it would be so ugly and defensive. But I think Iowa State will be ugly and defensive enough to beat Pitt or Mississippi State. So why not? Let's go with Iowa State. Xavier and Kennesaw State. Xavier has a great offense. Questionable defense, but that offense is going to be way too much for Kennesaw State. And Kennesaw State, I don't think has enough offensive firepower to pull off the upset. Texas A&M and Penn State. Now, this one I've also gone back and forth on. Texas A&M really got screwed over by having a 7 seed. They should have been a 5 or 4. Penn State might have gotten screwed over by getting a 10 seed. They got to the Big Ten finals. Penn State's riding hot right now. Jalen Pickett, kind of like an old school Magic Johnson type point guard, a post 17, 7 and 7 triple-double machine point guard who slows down the pace of play. I've decided that Penn State is, the way they're playing right now, I'm going to go with Penn State. I think their offense could be too much for Texas A&M to keep up with. Then we have Texas and Colgate. As cool as it would be to see a Texas versus Texas A&M matchup, that's not going to happen, in my opinion. Now, Colgate does scare me as a 15 seed. They might be the best 15 seed. That three-point shooting, if they're hot, look out. I'm not going to just sit back comfortably with Texas. I am high on Texas. I'm going to go with Texas because I already have a 15 over here. But if there was a 15 objectively, most realistically, that could pull off an upset, it is Colgate with their three-point shooting, but they don't have the size and defense, I think, to keep up with Texas. If Texas's offense is even pretty good, but if Texas isn't making any shots and Colgate is, that could be trouble. So Colgate's dangerous. I'm not going to pretend like it's an easy matchup. We move down to the West region, the final first-round region here. Kansas and Howard. Howard, great story. The fact that they got to the tournament, awesome for them. First time in a long time. But I'm going to go with Kansas. Bill Self's back. This is the defending national champions. They're a great overall offense and defense, so I just don't think Howard can win that game. Arkansas, Illinois. Now, I have gone with 2 9s, and let's just even it out. Let's go with an 8. This is another toss-up game. Illinois is just really inconsistent. I think they settle way too much for threes. I like Arkansas's talent better. I like Eric Musselman. He always has a little March magic in him. I will go with Arkansas to win this game. St. Mary's and VCU. This might be the most popular 12 versus 5 upset pick this year. And I'm going to go with it. I see it. I'm riding the VCU train. They're a little underseeded. 27 wins in the A10 conference, and that's only good enough for a 12 seed. St. Mary's, we saw against Gonzaga, or if you saw against Gonzaga, they struggle against a lot of physicality and defensive pressure. That's exactly what VCU brings. They pressure you on defense. They're physical. They get steals. They force turnovers. They're playing so well right now off an A10 title. I love VCU's momentum. I think they're going to be too much to handle for St. Mary's. UConn and Iowa. Now, people love UConn as a 4 seed. Some people have UConn winning this region. Jay Billis had UConn winning the whole thing. I've seen a couple of people have UConn winning the whole thing. And I could see it. But I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it. The most unlikely thing, unlikeliest 13 versus 4, I bet you, would be Iona beating UConn, but it's Rick Pitino, man. They play such smart pressuring basketball. Iona, they're balanced. They're well coached, obviously. I think Rick Pitino wins this game by out-coaching Danny Hurley. I trust him over Danny Hurley. And UConn, with Sonogo being their best player, I don't love these interior dominant teams. If UConn was a great three-point shooting team, I would say, I can't do anything. But if Iona gets hot, they pressure their backcourt, with presses and stuff, force steals, and try to take Sonogo out of the game. I can see Iona winning that. I'm going to be bold and take Iona. I just like it. TCU versus the winner of ASU and Nevada. Now, no bias whatsoever. I can't see why I'm biased, but you would think I'd be biased. But I think ASU is going to beat Nevada. No, honestly, aside from me being an ASU student, objectively, I think a lot of people like Arizona State over Nevada. A lot of people don't like that Nevada's in this field. I don't think they're playing great right now. Had some bad losses recently. I'll go with ASU to win that game, and I'll take them to beat TCU. Why not? You gotta go with your heart sometimes. And statistically, I think one of these first four winners will win in a round of 64 game as well. So I think ASU will be that one. TCU's offense is questionable. It would be a very defensive game. ASU's more defensive than offensive, just like TCU. So I guess whoever's shots are falling, I could see it. Gonzaga versus Grand Canyon. I love Gonzaga this year. Maybe a little underrated as a championship contender because they are a 3 seed this year. They have, I think, the best offense in the entire country. Defense isn't amazing, but that offense is so efficient. They're number 1 in field goal percentage. They just take such smart shots with Mark Few. I think they'll beat Grand Canyon. It's just going to be too much for Grand Canyon, I think. Then we have Northwestern and Boise State, a very defensive matchup. Gritty, but Northwestern's offense really struggles. Actually, their offense is worse than Boise State's. I like Boise State's offense better than Northwestern, and their defense lines up with them pretty similarly. So I like Boise State because I think their three-point shooting, their offense will be the difference in this game. Then we have the final first-round game, UCLA and UNC Asheville. Now, I'm going to go with UCLA, but I do want to say this about UNC Asheville. I looked at their stats, looked at the metrics. Their three-point shooting is very dangerous. This is a high-octane offense. I think UCLA's defense, despite not having Jalen Clark, is going to slow them down enough to win. But I might go with UNC to cover. I don't know what the spread is. It's got to be double digits. UNC, don't completely sleep on them. Not a single person is talking about UNC covering or upsetting. I'm just saying it's not completely impossible. They can shoot. They can run with UCLA. If they're knocking down shots early, I don't know. But regardless, we're going to move on to the second round right now. Okay, Alabama, West Virginia. It was a great run for Huggy. Whoever wins this game, I just think Alabama's too much. Despite the Brandon Miller situation, it sucks. It's not ideal, but Alabama is so complete. I just don't think West Virginia can keep up with them offensively or defensively. Then we have a Charleston-Furman matchup here. You know what? I'm going to go with Charleston. That would be so cool if that was a second-round matchup. I'm going to go with Charleston. I like their offensive balance more. and they're a little bit more dynamic, so I will go with them to advance. Creighton UCSB, this was a first-round matchup 2 years ago. A lot of people thought UCSB could pull off the upset. They lost, I think, by 1 point. It was so close. Creighton's going to be too much for them. Creighton is dangerous, guys. Don't sleep on Creighton. That offense is going to be way too much for UCSB, and their defense is underrated. Greg McDermott's done a great job with them defensively, and Ryan Kalkbrenner, I believe that was, yeah, that's his name. Yeah, brain fart. Sorry. Yeah, the center, two-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, great interior presence. That's going to be too much for UCSB. Utah State and Princeton, I'm going to go with Utah State. I know St. Peter's is the thing. Oral Roberts, 15 seeds. Florida Gulf Coast, they've advanced twice. But I'm not even that confident Princeton advances once. Maybe I am. You know what? I am. But even if Utah State plays Arizona, their outside shooting and pace can be a problem. I'm really high on Utah State, so I will go with them to win. Second round here in the East region, Purdue and Memphis. I'm not very high on Purdue. I'm going with Memphis to win this game because I don't like Purdue's chances to win the whole thing or go really far, because even though I think Zach Edey's the best player in the country, I don't love teams that run their whole offense through a center where their center accounts for so much of their team, because you can take a center out of the game, whether it's foul trouble, double teaming, and a center can't control the pace of play like a guard. This is a guard-dominated sport nowadays. So I just don't love that, and Memphis is riding hot. A lot of people like Memphis. I'm one of them. I'm on the Memphis train. I think they win. Oral Roberts, Tennessee. I mean, come on, Oral Roberts. Only because... No, I'm going with Oral Roberts. I'm doing it. I was going to say only because I'm not... They have a really tough matchup with Duke. You know, it's already bold to say they advance once, but if they can beat Duke, they can win twice, and I don't want to be conventional, so I'm going with Oral Roberts. Kentucky, K-State. Kentucky, I think, has the same problem that Purdue has, where their interior is kind of their focal point of their offense, but they can struggle from the perimeter. And also, Purdue really struggled against the press from Penn State. They almost blew that game, so I just don't like... I don't like their perimeter play as much. Same with Kentucky. I'd rather have Kansas State. I like Keontae Johnson a lot. I think their offense will be a little bit better than Kentucky's, and I think their defense will be able to hold off Kentucky. So I will go with Kansas State. Michigan State and Marquette. I really like Marquette, but this is dangerous. This really scares me. For those of you who are going with Marquette to go far, I could see them in the Final Four. I could see them, I don't know, a national championship. Who knows? Because they're just riding hot. Shaka Smart, he's been to the Final Four, and they're playing really well. But this matchup's dangerous. I'm going with Marquette, but I'm warning you, this is scary. If this is a matchup, Marquette rooters and fans, that's tough. Tom Izzo, I mean, he knows how to pull off some upsets. Be careful there. Houston and Auburn. Auburn had a good... I actually will be honest. I'm going to go with Auburn to beat Iowa. I think Iowa has a better chance to beat Houston because if their shots are falling, Houston's offense couldn't keep up. But I think Houston will beat Auburn, even though that game will be in Alabama. I just don't think Auburn's offense is good enough, to be honest. Then we have Miami and Indiana. Very interesting matchup here. I really like Indiana to win this game. I thought for a second. No. It depends on how healthy Miami is, but I just think Indiana's a little bit better. I will go with Indiana to win this. Then we have Iowa State and Xavier. Iowa State, I don't think they can keep up with Xavier's offense. And Xavier's defense is not as good as Iowa State's, but their offense is just so much better than Iowa State's. I don't think they can keep up. I think Xavier advances and gets to the Sweet 16. Texas is in the same situation, I think, as Marquette. They're a 2 seed that I like to go far, but if you're rooting for them, be careful because this is a dangerous matchup if they play Penn State. I'm going to go with Texas because they're a very complete team. They're top 40 in adjusted offensive efficiency, top 20 in defensive efficiency, which is a good formula to go far. But Penn State, their shots are falling. They're a little bit better of a shooting team than Texas, so that could be scary as well. Be careful of that game, but I will still go with Texas to win that. Kansas and Arkansas. I'm going with the upset. I'm going with Arkansas to win. I trust Eric Musselman. You know what? I'm going with Arkansas. I'm sticking with them. I'm going with Arkansas. I think I like Eric Musselman here. I think their talent, and they're just as talented as Kansas, really. And my logic against Kansas is They're great. They're really balanced. They're really great. My only complaint is that it's the whole thing with them being the defending champs. Usually the defending champ doesn't win 2 years in a row. That's the only logic I have, but really it's so tough to repeat. So based on that alone, and also I don't want to be conventional, I'm going with Arkansas to pull off the upset just with their talent and the fact that if they get hot, they can knock down shots, they can score, they can defend, they can do a little bit of everything, and Musselman will have them ready to play. Who will Arkansas play? Will they play VCU or Iona? I think they play VCU. I really like VCU. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think they beat Iona. I think they're just playing so well. They're defensive, gritty. They can score too. Underrated offense. Gonzaga, ASU/Nevada. I think Gonzaga wins this game pretty easily. Even if it's TCU, there's just no way that any of those three possible teams could keep up with Gonzaga's offense. No way. Actually, I don't know what the spread is because that matchup hasn't happened yet. But if it happens, Gonzaga would cover because they score like 90-plus points a game. Good luck. Boise State, UCLA. I like Boise State. I don't think they can... I think UCLA is just better. I just don't see it. I think the only way UCLA goes down is against a great offensive team. Boise State can struggle offensively, and they're not going to be able to out-defend UCLA. Even without Clark, UCLA's defense is just too good. They apply too much pressure. So you want to talk about parity? I've got some parity here. This region, Alabama, Charleston, Creighton, Utah State. I'm going to go with Alabama to beat Charleston. It's a good run for them. I just don't see them as an Elite Eight team. I love Alabama. Despite everything going on, I'm a big fan of them going far in this tournament. Creighton, Utah State. Wow, that'd be such a good matchup. Honestly, Utah State could do it. I could see it. I really could. But I'm going to go with Creighton to win this game. Again, Utah State has Elite Eight potential. I really think they're that good. I just think Creighton is a better defensive team, and their interior play on offense and defense, I think, will be too much for Utah State to deal with. Memphis and Oral Roberts. Look, I love Oral Roberts, but I don't think they're getting to the Elite Eight. That would be awesome. I think they can, but I don't think they will. I think Memphis is that good. Kansas State, Marquette. This is where Marquette's offense is going to be too much for Kansas State to handle, and Marquette gets to the Elite Eight. I really like how they're playing right now. We got to speed it up, guys. We're 33 minutes in. We're taking forever. Sorry to take up your time, so much of your time. So we're going to pick up the pace. We're almost there. Houston and Indiana. It was a great run for Indiana, but I'm going to have to go with Houston to win in this region. Or, sorry, get to the Elite Eight. I just don't think Indiana... I don't know. I just think they play kind of similar styles. They're both balanced teams. I just think Houston's a little bit better at both offense and defense than Indiana. Xavier, Texas. This is high-octane offense versus more defensive, balanced. But these are the parts of the tournament where I would like you to be a good defensive team. Xavier is not. I don't think they can keep up with Texas. So I will go with Texas to win. So that's my Elite Eight over there. And then Arkansas, VCU, UCLA, Gonzaga. Let's start here. I like VCU, guys. They have Elite Eight potential. VCU is always surprising. They've gotten to the Final Four as an 11 seed from the first four, and they kind of play a similar style, even though Shaka Smart's not there anymore. I like VCU in the Elite Eight. UCLA, Gonzaga. What a game. This might be the best game of this round. I really go back and forth. I might make a second bracket where I go with Gonzaga to win. But I'm going to go with UCLA because I trust their defense a little bit more. I don't know. I really don't know how well they're going to play without Jalen Clark. But, yeah, I'm going to go with them to win. So this is our Elite Eight. We're going to go with Alabama. Okay, Alabama, Creighton. I just think Alabama's too much for Creighton. And they're going to get to the Final Four. They're kind of like Creighton where they're balanced. They're not as good as a shooting team, but they also are the #1 rebounding team. And this is where they give Creighton's bigs trouble. They out-rebound them. I think they're more physical. I think they can defend them better than Creighton can defend Alabama. So I go with Alabama to get to the Final Four. And then Memphis, Marquette. You know, every year I got to go with a Cinderella team. I really do. It wouldn't be fun without it. So my Cinderella team is Memphis. I think Memphis gets all the way to Houston, gets to the Final Four. At this point, if they get here, they're just riding hot. They're going to continue that momentum. And Penny Hardaway leads the Tigers to the Final Four. Houston and Texas. Houston, Texas here for a chance to go to Houston. The Battle of the Texas Schools. Look, I'm not going to go all chalk. I really don't think this is an amazing year for number 1 seeds. I like Texas to win this game. I think they're very similar, very balanced. I just got a feeling about Texas. I think they're more battle-tested because they played in a better conference with the Big 12. Even though Houston is moving to the Big 12, they're not there yet. So these future rivals, I think Texas's battle-testedness will get them to the Final Four. So, who's our Final Four team? VCU, can they get to the Final Four? No, I already have one Cinderella team, and a 12 seed's never gotten to the Final Four. So I think UCLA gets to the Final Four. So my Final Four, I like it. 1 versus 8, 2 versus 2. We're not all chalk. We have 1 seed, 2 seeds, and we have our Cinderella team. But here's the thing. Okay, no, actually, let's start with Alabama and Texas. Alabama and Texas. Sorry, Texas. What am I saying? Oh, my God. Memphis. No, I just don't see it. I think Alabama's too good for Memphis. This is where Memphis's Cinderella run comes to an end, as it does with most Cinderella teams that get to the Final Four. So who does Alabama play in the championship? Texas or UCLA? See, UCLA is so weird. They're an enigma to me because I thought I would probably have picked them to win the whole thing. But then Jalen Clark, you can't ignore that injury. I think he's the best perimeter defender in all of college basketball. I still think UCLA is good enough to win their region, but if you're talking about win a championship, I think that's a little bold for my liking. So I'm going to go with Texas to face Alabama in the finals. A nice 1 versus 2 matchup. Who cuts down the nets in Houston, Texas on April 3rd in the national championship? I will go with sweet home Alabama to win this. I know Brandon Miller, the whole controversy. Also, I don't love that their best player is a freshman, but Alabama's just so dominant on both ends of the ball. They're number 1 in the country in rebounding. They don't really have any big weakness. They're not a great three-point shooting team, but they're also not bad. But if you want to pick a champion, I made a TikTok about this. There's only 5 top seeds, or there's only a few teams that are top 40 in offensive efficiency and top 22 in defensive efficiency, and the last 20 champions have fit both of those categories. Alabama does, so does Texas. I just like Alabama's offense a little bit more than Texas's offense. I think Alabama's the favorite, but I see why. There's no stopping them. I think they've played just well since the whole Brandon Miller thing. Objectively, I mean, they won their conference tournament. They're riding hot. They're playing so well. They comfortably beat Texas A&M in the SEC tournament finals. So I just don't really see a big weakness with this team. I think they have national championship potential, and I'm going to aside from the whole situation, just stepping back objectively, realistically, I really do think Alabama has the best chance to win. Final score, kind of defensive. Let's keep it close. Let's keep it a good game. I'm going to go 71-67. So Alabama, the Crimson Tide, Roll Tide, they win my bracket. I might make another one. No, I will make another one because, who knows. But for this video, realistically, I did have upsets here, a lot of parity. But at the end of the day, the championship usually is top seeds. So I wasn't crazy in that department. But guys, make sure to comment your opinions. This video is way too long as it is. I want to hear your bracket predictions. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? I guarantee you'll disagree with me in a lot of places, and I love it. I want to hear your opinions. Like the video if you enjoyed, guys. Subscribe, and I can't wait for March Madness. Let's do this. Let's have our brackets busted in day 1 because that's part of the fun. All right, guys. Wish you all the best of luck in your brackets. Wish you the best. Hope you enjoy it as much as I'm going to enjoy March Madness. With that being said, this video is way too long already. Let's try to end it before the 40-minute mark. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.